to remember that they are people, and that, again, an emotion that they show on the game time might be a reaction of how they're feeling in the moment. So again, just remember that behind every player that's wearing a kit, there's a story behind them.
Because it is a little bit chaotic, do you have any advice to help coaches ensure that they're not overwhelmed by that?
Oh, don't argue who goes first. I think it's part of the game that we love. I think it's the expectations of winning or losing, and I think we build it up too much as coaches. I've seen on social media in terms of platforms where they go, oh, we've got a big game today, we're playing top of the league, and they're under 8s. So I think try not to build it up for yourself, because then it'll have a positive knock-on effect for your players and your parents. But enjoy it, because if you've done the work in training, and I put that loosely in terms of the work you've done in training, why not then just sit back and enjoy the match day, because you know that you've planned in training really well, you've planned, again, the roles and responsibilities pre-match. So during the match, why not have yourself a cup of tea and just watch the game and actually enjoy seeing your players make decisions, give positive praise where possible, and realise that if you're getting caught up in the moment, take a minute to reflect. Because again, I'm a different coach to Pav. If Pav and I are playing against each other, I don't want to start mimicking his body language. I'm going to be true to myself. So that's the biggest thing, is enjoy the game, because the work you've done building up to the game is, why not enjoy seeing what your players can do in their own environment?
Yeah, a tip for coaches that I would use is, when you go into schools these days, they have a set of values in the school, what sort of students have to adhere to. And something what I use, and each club needs to have this as well, is if you agree what them values, behaviours are before the game, you go back to it. So let's just say, right, okay, we'll say, right, we've got to be resilient today. Okay, let's look at that. We got to support each other, okay? And we also, pick one, go to it, I'll put you on the thing, pick one, pick a value, a behaviour.
Behaviour?
Yeah, anything.
Be kind.
Right, okay,
I like that
brilliant.
one.
Right, so we'll go resilient, yep, support each other, be kind, okay. So you write that on the tactic board or the board, because you know, any moment in that game, no matter what level it is, okay, they have to deal with resilience. They might give the ball away, or they might be 2-0 down, whatever, it doesn't matter. But there's going to be a time when they have to be kind as well. But what does that kind look like to them? It's in their world, an under 8s, what academy, whatever. But what happens is, and I've done it myself, when they start sort of arguing and stuff, whoa, we agreed we're going to support each other and be kind, and you go back to that, boom, they just be quiet. So you've agreed that with them before the game, and it's quite tangible as well. So I think that's important as well, is agree a set of values or behaviours before the game. But things will go out playing, but it's a point to work towards.
When the game's starting then, what should coaches focus on during the game, in your opinion, or in your experiences? What do you tend to focus on yourselves?
It's interesting, because again, depending on what level you're coaching at, whether it's grassroots or again semi-pro, sometimes you focus on your own bias. So again, in the women's game, I try to play centre midfield. So when I'm then on a touchline, I'm focused on the two centre mids, because I can relate to how they're feeling. So there's a little bit of a bias, that's where I focus on, but I know there's more than just them two on the pitch. So I think it's important to try and see if you can praise each player, or at least speak to each player throughout the half, whether it's just a quick well done, or are you okay? So going back to when, again, coaching, very rarely did I speak to the goalkeeper. And it wasn't because I didn't like her, it was because that wasn't a position I was comfortable with, and if I said the right things. But actually, just by talking to her, I was saying the right things, by saying well done, or actually stand up taller, or things like that. So where you can, be really kind of conscious to get around all your players throughout the full game, not just one half, but let it be meaningful, not just a case of, oh, well done. It's got to be meaningful and impactful, because that one thing that you might say to that player will be with them for the rest of the game. So be impactful, positive, and just remember where you're vocalising the communication too. So again, as part of my coaching journey, we'd be going from right to left, and I'd talk to the right-sided winger all the first half, because I felt like she needed my support. Second half, she had the best game of her life. Now, is that because she's away from me and I couldn't project my voice? So again, really interesting is, just because they're right in front of you as well, be conscious that you don't give too much information to the players that are playing along that side that you're stood in. So big top tip is, as the game's going ahead, try and say something positive, impactful to each player at the right time, even your goalkeeper and your subs. Enjoy the game. They will make mistakes, but again, where possible, just be impactful with what you say rather than consistently saying something because you feel you have to.
After everything that we've talked about, from match day planning to actually the match day itself, what is your key point that you want coaches to take away from this discussion?
To remember that they are people, and that, again, an emotion that they show on the game time might be a reaction of how they're feeling in the moment. So again, just remember that behind every player that's wearing a kit, there's a story behind them. So again, use the tools in training, pre-match, to get to know that as an individual. And then again, plan, do review, or plan, play, review, like we've alluded to before, is actually, if you do the work before the game, you can enjoy the match day experience a lot more.
Yeah, it's quite simple for me, really. I think, ask yourself as a coach, have you allowed your players to be the peak version of themselves? And how have you helped them become that peak version of themselves? I think that's quite important. And I think for coaches as well is, when we talk about values and behaviours, have you been consistent with those? And did you really shine the light on everything what you talked about and what you've been talking about with the players? And did we capture those moments together as a team?